What's up, everyone? Kevin Carrillo here, and welcome to another episode of the Cannabinoid Connect podcast. My guest today is Corbett Hefner, Vice President of Research and Development and Business Development for Formation Ag, which is one of the leading manufacturers for hemp equipment. Today on the Cannabinoid Connect podcast, we are talking all things industrial hemp equipment. And we're fortunate enough to have Corbett Hefner on, who is the VP of Research and Development and Business Development for Formation Ag. Welcome, Corbett. Thanks for being on the show.
You bet. Thank you, Kevin, for having us. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Of course, yes. My last guest on the podcast was Manny Fresh Ordaz, who is a hemp farming consultant. And during that podcast, he talked a little bit about how different the industrial hemp industry is compared to, the recreational THC market that's currently out there. And the big difference that he said was just the equipment, that's needed to process these plants. And extract, the cannabinoids and the fiber and stuff. So why don't you talk a little bit about Formation Ag and your research there and what you guys are doing?
Sure. This is our 5th year of making harvesting equipment and processing equipment for cannabinoid harvesting. Specific to that, the first machine we built was a chaff collection machine that went behind the combine. It's our grasshopper unit. And you talk about the specialized machinery. The first year we did that, we took an 8% CBD crop and turned it into a 1%. So we learned that threshing of the crop, chopping of the crop is the worst thing in the world you can do to it, because you lose between 50 and 90% of your cannabinoid content just by your harvesting choice alone, right? So once you rupture those trichomes, it starts to oxidize, starts to dry out and evaporate, and you just lost your chance at full spectrum oil, and then you drastically can reduce your yield. So we did that the first year, and then I came on board that second year and built the clean cut harvester. That machine at that point in time was geared, since this was 2016, was geared towards, somewhat smaller acreage, because the big acreage just wasn't there yet. But we still harvested 300 acres with the first clean cut we did. And its whole goal was to harvest whole plants without destroying the trichomes. We learned that in 2015. That was a wrong thing to do. All right.
Right, and for our audience, just to make them know, trichomes are what we talked about earlier, the gold of the plant, right? That's where all the cannabinoids are, and they're very precious, and they need to be handled delicately.
Yeah, but you got to realize that the trichomes are grown externally on the bud and the sugar leaf of the plant. There's no seed coat, there's no husk. It's literally a drop of oil that's secreted from the stalk, from the glands on the top of the stalk. So breaking those is really, really easy to do when they're still wet. It's not hard to break them apart. The warmer it is outside, the easier it is to break them and rupture them, and the stickier they get. So we've developed and engineered this machinery to keep people from doing that. I mean, you're going to break a few of them, but harvesting either a whole plant so you can hang dry, or some sort of air mechanism to dry the plant, we can do that quite effectively. We can cut by the numbers 2 3/8 inch diameter stalks at 4 to 6 miles an hour with a clean cut machine. And then we've built another machine that's made for dedicated rows now, called the super clean cut, that has snouts on it. If you're on a raised bed type farming practice, we can go down, and if you have a genetic that the branches droop instead of go vertical, we can go down and lift those branches up and help reduce your yield per acre in terms of tonnage. And then the newest one that we put in the field last year, we worked on for 2 years before this, is the clean strip machine, where we can actually strip the buds off of the plant in the field at high rates of speed. Our machinery is kind of geared towards larger farming practices. So, 40 acres, 100 acres, we do, thousands of acres with these machines at very high rates of speed with minimal labor. At today's price points, you have to be very, very cognizant of your input cost. And if those are high, then you're going to have some issues with making some money in this game. you can still make money today, even at the lower prices per point per pound of CBD. You can still do it, but we gotta be smart in how we farm the crop. So there's ways to do it. There's a lot of older information out there that takes people to the horticultural model of farming, and there's a way to agriculturally farm this and still make money and still provide a very good, safe product for the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
makes
I mean,
sense.
that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, you mentioned the opportunity. If you do it right, you plan your equipment, your trucks, your routes, your strategy. You know, you're going to see the benefit of that. So if somebody was coming into that as a new farmer, they wanted to transition and pivot into industrial hemp farming. What type of numbers would they see based on the large scale operations that you're talking about?
I can show you that spreadsheet we put in. Is that a good time for that, or do you want to
Sure. Yeah.
look at it? I did this spreadsheet, and I use this in most of the talks that we do, just to help educate people that want to get into uh, cannabinoid and hemp farming in general. This sheet is specific to CBD farming, oil production farming. So what I've got here, and these are validatable numbers. You can go out to Pan Exchange or these benchmark platforms and pull these numbers up. I just put this together because people just kept asking the same question: how much can I make? So this is several tables in here. What I've got is down this axis is the dry weight poundage per acre. So I've got 500 pounds, 1,000 pounds, 1,500 pounds. And then across the top here is the CBD or the oil percentage. So depending on your genetic selection, et cetera, this is what your yield might be. So this first chart, if for instance, you've got a 2% crop and you yielded 1,000 pounds per acre, you would have 20 pounds of oil potential that you can make money off of. If you planted a genetic that was at 10% or 8%, you'd have 80 or 100. I convert that into kilograms here just because some people like kilograms. But here's where it gets interesting. This little tab is if you're selling biomass, people call it, I like to call it flour, because it's specific. The total plant does not yield CBD. People think it does, but there's no CBD generated in the stalk. So
Just the trichomes, right?
Just the trichome. So this is only the trichome bearing part of a plant. People think there's some oil on the stalk. If you look with a microscope at the stalk, there's no trichomes. There might be some oil that was there that kind of rubbed off from the wind, but we don't see it being produced there. So at today's price point, which this number came from Pan Exchange on their website, it was 77 cents per point per pound of dry flour. So if you grew, just round numbers, and if you look at a horticultural model of farming, 1,000 pounds is kind of an average yield, okay? I've got these two slides highlighted, and I'll show you pictures of what the difference of those in. But let's say you've got a crop and your true yield post-harvest. A lot of people don't measure their CBD content after they harvest it, and they should. Like Oregon doesn't require you to check your CBD content after harvest, and you probably should. But if you yielded 2% and you had 1,000 pounds at 77 cents, that's $1,500.40 of revenue per acre. If you had a 10% crop, it'd be $7,700, right? That's your gross revenue. I don't go into cost so much because every farm is different. Every field can be a little different. So I've kind of skipped that. People can add up their cost. I mean, we can talk about seed and all kinds of stuff. If you want, we can talk for hours, but I've just chosen to do this.
So let me stop you right. So when you talk about the percentages for the seeds, right? You've got, and for the people that can't see what you're showing when you share your screen, we've got 2%, 4%, 6%, 8%, 10%, 12%. Now that's the percentage of CBD of the seed that you've purchased, right? The genetics.
Right. For that genetics. So whatever your genetic selection was, this is the potential revenue. Now, we see people buy really high dollar, expensive CBD yielding genetics. Most of the time, those go a little bit onto the hot side, and you may or may not recognize that full potential. I've stopped this at 12 just because it got too big. And this is about all we ever see people really, truly get out of the field. Every once in a while, we'll see higher, but not very often.
So the
So
higher you go, when you say getting hot, obviously that means it becoming over 0.3% in THC, which would make
correct.
it illegal, right? So is that one part? Is that the only risk involved when you're buying a genetic with a higher percentage, or is there a whole different farming practice that's involved as well?
Most of those farm a little differently because the seed or the clones or transplants, whatever you're doing, their cost per unit is quite a bit higher. For instance, this 8% cost or 8% CBD crop. This is a seed we can get for $45 a pound. Okay. There's 41,000 seeds per pound. I've seen people get into the 10 and 12% CBD genetics that are paying $1, $2 per seed, or they're paying $2, $3, $4 for a clone. So if you're planting 1,000 plants per acre, let's say you bought some expensive seed and you paid $2 a seed, and you put in 1,000 seeds per acre, you're at $2,000.
Hmm.
All right. That's why I have these two highlighted. Harvesting choice. We've seen people take 10 and 12% crops, combine it, and turn it into a 2% crop. Well, now the return today is only $1,540. Well, you're at $2,000 if you paid $2 a seed. If you paid $3 a clone, you're at $3,000.
Hmm.
So we just kind of try to highlight to get the conversation going, to get people thinking about how can I farm this crop successfully and not risk my farm. I talk about those higher dollar or higher CBD content genetics. If you talk to some of the breeders on the front range here, like New West Genetics, Front Range Bioscience, people that are very, very knowledgeable and good at this, they'll tell you the CBD to THC ratio 20 to 1, 30 to 1. So it's kind of a question for thought here. If you go out and spend dollars on a 20% CBD crop, just because it's easy math, and let's
Hmm.
say it's 30 to 1, well, that's 0.6 THC. So are you ever going to get to maximize the 20% when you're probably, if you're, when you're farming this crop to mitigate risk, you're doing it to monitor THC levels so you don't lose your entire crop. So you're going to file your farming harvest practice or your harvest program when you're at 0.18, 0.2, so that you're harvesting after the state has time to come in and do their testing, give you the okay to harvest. You're going to harvest when it's at 0.22, 0.28, 0.26, whatever it is. You're going to harvest well before that crop ever reaches its full CBD content potential. If you're mitigating your risk, if you're a risk taker and you want to push it and hope the state doesn't come, that's up to you. But if you're looking at total cumulative THC levels and you're mitigating your risk of THC, you're going to have to harvest early. So it's just a question, why risk and spend all that money when you can get a crop that you know that's in this 6, 8, 10% range, that its odds are much less of going hot, its odds of getting closer to its full potential are higher. And if you farm it correctly and you've kept your input costs down low and below these numbers, you're going to make some money. Is it the $1 million an acre they said they were going to make 3 years ago? No, but it's a fantastic rotation crop. I tell people all over the country, this is a good rotation crop. This isn't the thing you switch your entire farm to. It's part of a good soil health, good management practice to have rotation crops. So you want to have this as a rotation, is 2-year, 3-year, 4-year rotation, whatever you're working on. So it's something to think about as well. Okay.
Hmm.
So this is an agronomic kind of an approach to this thing. My studies in college were in plant pathology. So we look at the total farm and how can we help a farmer make some money? We really want these farms to make money here. And by talking about these numbers, this is how we can help them stay safe and get that revenue per acre.
For
So
sure.
did that answer your question? It was a
It
long answer
did.
to a short question.
No, it did, and I didn't mean to derail you. That was helpful though. Thank you so
Nope.
much.
No, those are good topics. You said you wanted organic. There you go.
Absolutely.
So if these are your potential revenues per acre, let's just look at this 8 and 10%. Let's say you've made an arrangement with somebody that says, okay, we're going to do a oil sharing deal. I'm going to work with an extractor. They're going to take 50% of the oil and I'm going to get 50% of the oil back. So what can a farm expect if they do that? So let's say the guy's only going to take the crop to the crude stage, right? So he's going to do winterized crude. Okay. This is today's price point per kilogram for oil. Okay.
$375.
Dollars per kilogram. Most people don't realize that there is an extraction factor, a scrap factor, when they extrude that oil. So if you send somebody 100 pounds of oil, most of these farms think, okay, I'm going to get 50 pounds of oil back. Well, you got to factor in the scrap rate. There's a scrap loss in these. Some extrusion practices are better, some are worse, but we just kind of selected a middle of the road extraction scrap factor and put it in here. So in this instance, it's 45%. So if you grew a 10% crop, you would have roughly $9,300 in returnable revenue per acre. And if you did a 50-50 split, that's half of that. So it's, $4,700, right? So I'm just trying to show this, demonstrate this. Okay, 10% crop, $9,300 total gross revenue per acre. And then you divide that by 2 if you did a revenue sharing with somebody. So what if you spent $10,000 an acre to grow this crop and you're only getting 4,700 back? Right. Now you're in trouble. What if you chopped it and you turned it into a 2% crop? Now you're only splitting $1,800 an acre. So you've got $950 back coming to you. That's assuming you can even sell the oil at this point in time. With the virus shutdown, oil sales have really dropped off. So it's something to be aware of. I talk to people when I go around the country about, what do you do if you have to store the crop? You better be planning on that in case you have to hold on to it for a while. So this is really good information to know. It sounds like a nice deal when you're going to revenue share with an extraction company, but just be mindful of this is what could possibly happen. So I go down a little bit further and say, okay, they're going to take it to full spectrum, right? That solves everything, because full spectrum at the moment is selling for $1,363. Well, full spectrum still has a scrap rate. From the extraction companies I've spoken to, this is a very conservative middle of the road number, 65% for scrap factor. So let's look again, 10% crop, 21,660. That sounds really, really decent now. It's pretty good if you're vertically integrated and you own your own extraction equipment. That's not too bad. But what if you did a 50-50 crop share? Okay, now you're down at $10,500. What if you've got $10,000 in input cost into this crop? Didn't make very much. You only made $500. Better off growing corn.
That's a lot of work for $500.
It's a whole lot of work. That's why we talk about input costs. That's what, I'll show you these pictures in a second. This 8% crop versus 2%. People that are doing CBD farming, cannabinoid farming at scale, they're growing these things for less than $2,000 an acre. You don't have to do this horticultural model. I can show you some equipment videos, etc., of how to farm this at scale and still make money as a really great rotation crop. Soil health wise, water consumption wise, we're in a very, very large potato production area here, and they're finding and just beginning to study that hemp is suppressing nematode populations in the soil. That's fantastic if you're a table stock potato producer.
What does that mean exactly?
So nematodes are those little microscopic worms on table stock potatoes, the stuff you buy in the grocery store. Those worms can make damages in the tuber. So getting the nematodes down helps increase your quality that you can sell to retail. So planting this crop in front of potatoes, they're finding that it's helping suppress those nematode counts and thus increasing the quality of their potatoes so they can get more per ton for potatoes.
Wow.
So, and then it uses, we're in a high mountain desert. So we get 80 to 90% or 80 to 90 degrees. So I assume you turned off the screen sharing.
Yeah.
Is that what you did?
Yeah, we can turn it back on. You're good.
Water consumption here is between 12 and 13 inches of water. So we're in a high mountain desert. We get less than 6 inches of rainfall a year. So, we know in this condition versus potatoes that consume 25 to 35 inches of water, this is a really good water conservation tool. So the people that are farming hemp here in rotation with their potatoes are finding nematode suppression, and then they're finding water consumption. And then if you plant this correct, even in organic fields, if you plant it where it canopies early, it's really helping with the weed suppression. Because the crop will canopy if you plant it at the right densities.
Right.
And I can show you, I can show you pictures of hemp that's farmed here in our area that's planted on 6-inch rows with the grain drill.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And we'll also just explain it or describe it to our audience that's listening through audio only. So let's go ahead and check those out.
Let me share that screen again, and I'll pull up that PowerPoint, and I can show you some of the different deals. This I showed this picture to you earlier. So this is a trichome on the stalk, right? So here's the stalk of the plant, and this is the oil yielding part. So if you look at a sugar leaf, all these little dots, that's where the oil is produced, okay? That's why we don't like the combining or the chopping, because it breaks these up, it breaks them off, and you lose them. In those spreadsheets that we were just looking at, this bud was harvested, transported, unloaded, dried, and then I pulled it out of a stack. This was from our clean strip machine. So this is taking that bucking, shucking process, eliminating it. We're doing it in the field at the same time as we harvest. So this customer had 3,500 acres. He sold all of his crop, but 600 of it, he harvested and stripped this crop with 2 people in the field.
Wow.
At incredible rates of speed. But if you zoom in on this thing, I don't know if I can, let me zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, and so what we're looking at is basically just a flower bud that is completely, the trichomes are completely intact.
You see them here?
Yep.
All
And it's
those
just
little
kind of
hairs, that's
popping right now.
post-drying. This
And what's
picture on the
what's the
left,
typical drying time for trichomes?
well, post-stripping, it's 50% faster than if you leave the stalk in the field or on the crop. So by removing the stem, we're actually helping the drying process. We didn't realize that. We kind of knew that would happen, but we didn't know how fast. But this bud dries, these things at scale, they were drying them in 6 to 8 hours. And we were doing semi-low quantities at a time. But you can see all the trichomes there. This picture on the left, this is a truckload of the trichomes, just looking down inside of it. Here's a microscopic view of the stalk and then the trichome on top of that head. This is what drives our engineering when we're innovating harvesting, okay? Mm-hmm. So back to this picture, this is off the clean strip. This farm is about 15, 20 miles from here. He harvested this crop, one of the circles right across the road. So 20 feet away from him, he sold, and the guy came in and combined it. So this genetic was expected to be at 8%, and it is at 8% post-harvest. Here's the same crop post-combining. If you look down inside in here, and I've got it zoomed in as much as the computer will let me do, those trichomes are gone. We sent this off to get it tested, third-party tested, 1.18. So he went from 8% CBD to 1.18 with his harvesting technique.
And so it's because the other harvesting technique that he used destroyed the trichomes, basically, right?
Destroyed the crop. Yeah. Destroyed the trichomes, breaks them off, it loses them, they evaporate, they start to oxidize immediately. It's just, we're finding that the selection of how you harvest it is incredibly important to the success.
What would you say is the success rate of properly harvesting to get the full trichomes? Is it a high success rate? Is it a big challenge that farmers face?
It's very challenging. I mean, I've got that. Hopefully that video is playing. This is one of the clean strips running in Northern California this year.
So we're looking at a clean strip equipment actually going through the fields and just combing over the plants, and it's extracting those trichomes right off of the stalk, basically, right?
This is one. This
and there's
is
two
CBD.
men using it, just two people.
Yeah, there were a couple guys walking there. But here, this is the larger farm. One person in the tractor, one guy in the truck. This is a CBD field planted on 6-inch rows. And if you look on the left in front of that truck, that's been stripped. This is the edge of the field. So there's a little bit of material here because he has to lift. You see all the buds here? Mm-hmm. You see what's left here? Oh, I didn't know there was volume, sorry. That's 6 miles an hour.
Wow. And how many acres is that?
Oh, he did 600 last year. We had, I don't know how many thousands of acres in total these machines did. We have many of them in the field. This is how the machine ultimately is set up. This is the clean strip head here. So if you want to do dual crop revenue or tri-crop revenue, if you want to get the seed, the flower, and the fiber, we put this machine together. This is the clean strip. Down here is a sickle to cut the fiber. Then the buds, when they're stripped, go down this tube and into a collection cart. We've got this big vacuum system, or we have our grasshopper, which is another vacuum system for collecting. Here, this is the grasshopper. This is, let me get rid of that volume. This is a chaff collection cart. In this instance, this farm is an actual grain farm. So we're pulling all the chaff out of the back of this combine. This is the grasshopper with a vacuum system. We're collecting all of that trichome in here. This vacuum does not have any impellers. Nothing touches the crop when it comes out of the back of here through that tube. It's a little rough because we're pacing it, looking how much, if there's any dust coming out of here. This holds 20 cubic meters. That's an hour or 2 hours of runtime. Every
It
time
looks
they
like a
dump the
big
grain
train
tank.
car. It's like a
It
big
is.
train car that's right behind this huge tractor.
Yep. Well, it's a combine. Watch
At the
this.
combine, right?
So here he's harvesting the top, the buds and the seed. In this instance, the seed is going into the hopper up here, and the trichomes, the flower material, is going into into our grasshopper. So if you look, there's a tube right here. We're pulling the vacuum inside of here. Everything is landing inside of this tank into the hopper here. This is a tip cart. It unloads in 2 minutes. So you see there's nothing left in here. See all the buds that are left here?
Wow.
Very effective way to harvest. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty incredible
show.
How fast these things work.
So this is a 70 inch row, not a huge stature plant, but still you see the stalks left here. They're stripping it quite fast, and there's the buds going into the trailer. Back that up a little. Look up here on the offload boom. You see the buds dropping into the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
He's moving.
Wow.
So without damage, we've got test results showing pretty much zero damage. It actually, the CBD content can go up because we're removing most of the stock. CBD is percent by weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we remove some of the non-value added materials, it can actually go up. This is our clean cut harvester. This is whole plant harvesting. Beautiful cover crop here, more horticultural style because he's on, I think this is 48 inch rows. Not a huge stature plant, as everybody knows. Last year was a terrible growing season, wet during planting, really cold during harvest. This is a clean cut running in Lithuania, harvesting the CBD tops off of more of a fiber type plant, but they're actually collecting the CBD up here. And then the stalk, they're just pushing down for redding and baling at some point. But we can go 15 feet in the air with these machines and harvest.
I was gonna say that one's operating much higher.
Yeah.
Wow.
It might not look like it, but this tractor, this is on an 8R tractor. That's about head high. When you're sitting in the seat of that tractor, that's probably 9.5, 10 feet off the ground, would be a guess. That might be a little lower.
So speaking of the equipment, right? Can people your customers? Do you offer leasing options for these? Are you just selling them to farmers? Is it both?
We just sell, but some of our finance companies do have lease programs. We don't directly do that, but we can get them connected with people that do. This machine here, I don't know if you can see it. This is a super clean cut. So if you're on this one happens to be set up for 30 inch rows. So 30 inches from here to here. This will lift those lower branches, cut the plant. It'll actually strip the bottom 9 to 14 inches, remove the buds from the stalk. We have the boom off of this one. Usually the offload boom that lifts into a truck is over here on this side, but we took it off because we were at a trade show with this thing. Big paddle type reel. So this machine will cut some very large plants, or harvest some very large plants. Sorry, I should have said it that way.
No, you're fine. So let's switch gears a little bit. And I have a question regarding we're talking a lot about harvesting when it comes to CBD. We talked about the trichomes.
I should just stop that. There you go.
Where do you see the potential when it comes to the fiber? and the, you know, when it comes to hemp, right? We know that processors are starting to pop up that focus on non-consumable products. And so what equipment do you have for that? What best practices do you have for harvesting fiber when it comes to hemp?
So depending on what you're doing with it, since the fiber market is just getting going, we got some ways to harvest that crop. Again, we use the clean strip machine. We can pull the grain off and then cut that fiber down and lay it down so it can be retted. And then we like people to flip that crop about halfway through the retting process. And then our preference is at the moment is to round bale. So, we make decortication equipment. Okay, I don't know if I have a good picture of that. We make a decorticator, two of them actually. We make the FiberTrack 660, which is our more entry, smaller volume piece of machinery. It can be hand fed. We're engineering a module right now so that we can unwind bales and feed that machine. It'll run up to a ton an hour. I say up to because we have no clue what genetics people are doing, how they farmed it, how they baled it. But we can actively separate the fiber and the herd. If you go to my LinkedIn page or the Formation Ag LinkedIn page, I posted some video last Friday of separating the fiber and the herd on that decorticator. We had a film crew in here that's doing a documentary on fiber crop we planted on Thursday that it'll be out when they're done with this documentary. They're following it all the way through harvest, so you can see this whole process so people can really get an understanding of this fiber process and what it takes to farm one. It's not real hard, but you got to be on top of it and know what you're doing. And like everything I tell people, start with a sale and work backwards. If you don't have a sale for a fiber crop and you go in and drop 2,000 acres in, something bad's going to happen. You're not going to move it. You got to be, everything starts with a sale. We just don't want farms to get bad taste in their mouth with hemp. You just have to be smart. There's no granary type model where you can grow a hemp crop and take it somewhere and sell it. It just doesn't exist today. We hope that maybe that happens, but at the moment, you really need to have a home for your crop before you plant it.
And
So,
and that's been echoed with a lot of the experts that have been on the show, is that one of the bottlenecks is the processing step, right? So
right.
whether you want to make a non-consumable or consumable product, the processing plants, the extraction labs are very limited at this point, right?
Very much so.
So do you see that as a concern for a farmer to start now, say in hemp or textiles, things like that?
Yeah, the corticators are the first step in getting a fiber crop to market. Whether you're selling fiber or selling herd, decortication is the first step unless you're using the whole stock for what have you. So, we build those. I can show you a little short video one on that same PowerPoint, if you want me to play that for you.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
want to see that?
Yeah.
Let me find that. Share.
And then we'll talk through for our audio listening audience.
Okay. This is the rendering. I've got pictures. I just don't have any on this computer of the new FiberTrack 660. So it is a hand-fed machine. The product goes in this side and comes out the other side. This is a video of one that we did a year and a half, almost 2 years ago.
And
So this is baled material.
So we're seeing baled material being fed into this decorticator, and it's
correct.
doing what?
This is breaking and separating the fiber and the herd. So the fiber is coming out the top here. The herd drops on the bottom. This is a real simplistic version because this was a smaller throughput machine. We have a shaker table that actually does more work in separating herd and fiber. That was the herd dropping out of the bottom. This is a little short video of the fiber coming out of the machine. Here the guy's feeding in straight stock, so it'll take straight stock or baled material. Then the herd is down on the bottom and the fiber's going out this back end. We've got the guards off so you can see some of the mechanism. But that's separated herd, right? So herd's the core, the pithy part of the plant, the inside of the plant, and the fiber's the external. So there's fiber coming out.
I was going to ask you what I've heard that term. I was not familiar with it. So that's helpful. It's the inside of the stalk and fiber is the outside of the stalk.
So here's two images. The left-hand images is fiber. This is the outside of the stalk. This is the hurd, this is the core. So the pithy part, this is where the nutrients and fluids go up and down the stalk of the plant through this part. So what we're doing, when you cut a fiber crop down and you let it ret, retting is a controlled degradation process. You're watching the time and you're watching its progression. And what that is doing is bacterial action is consuming the lignins that bind the fiber to the hurd. Without that, it is quite a bit more difficult to separate these two. If you don't ret, we can break it down a little bit, but there'll be a lot more fiber stuck on these pieces of hurd. Like this is the outside of a piece of hurd. If you don't ret it, there'll be a lot of fiber still left on here. You'll still get some fiber, but there's a lot more left on there.
Right. This is a great slide because, so for people that can't see it, he's got a picture of fiber on the left and hurd on the right, and then he's talking about the applications for each. So fiber, cordage, ropes, textiles, batteries can be made from fiber, but then with hurd, it's more on the insulation, hempcrete, which we've heard has been used to make houses now. As well as plastics. I know that back in the 1960s, Ford developed a car that was made from hemp plastic. So hurd is what is made from that.
That help?
That's great. Yeah. No, that's very helpful. So just one more question along the lines comparing industrial hemp, on the non-consumable versus consumable side. What do the profit margins look like? I mean, I know that we ran through the potential for a farmer when it comes to CBD, but do you have any insights when it comes to profitability for a non-consumable products?
I'm going to put something together for that, but rough numbers, there's dual purpose fiber grain crops that, you'll get grain wise, maybe 750 to 1,500 pounds per acre of grain, hemp grain, right? Remember, CBD oil and grain oil are different. So the grain oil is actually produced in the grain, and the CBD is the trichomes produced on the calyx outside of the bud and the sugar base. So when you're farming grain, you either have it, you're going to dehull and consume that grain, or cold press and consume the oil, or make protein cake out of it, or what. That's one of the problems in hemp is there's so many uses for it. You got to pick one you think you can make money at and target that and work it. Hemp is the perfect crop for a farm to create demand for a product and control this product from start to finish. So that gives a farm a really neat option to do some work. But yield wise, conventional grain is selling between 55 and I've seen as high as 80 cents per pound. So let's just round numbers. If you grew 1,000 pounds at 80 cents, you get $800 in grain. Okay. A dual purpose crop can yield as low as maybe a ton an acre of fiber, and sometimes maybe 3 tons. Better genetic selection, you can probably get into that 5 tons per acre range with a little bit of grain on it. Just depends. Fiber, it's selling somewhere between 500 and 750 a ton, and hurd is roughly in that $700 and $750 per ton range right now too. So if you grew a 5-ton crop at $700, it's $3,500. Now, how long those prices will hold, we'll have to see. That's one of the things I'm a little concerned about is CBD got drastically overproduced last year. The fiber crop's going to be even easier to overproduce because you can farm it conventionally. So a lot of farms are already set up to do that, except for some of the harvesting techniques. Even farming CBD, if you're a row crop person that's doing cotton or corn, grain, you've got most of the equipment until it gets to harvesting. You're set up to do it. There's no sense in spending money for that. That's why our harvesters are set up on tractors or swathers or combines. We don't want the crop going through those machines, but we use them for power so that a farm does not have to go out and buy a multi-million-dollar power unit. I mean, a new tractor can be $300,000 to $500,000. Combines, go price them out on the websites. They're $500,000 more. So if you've already got that asset and it's sitting there, and we can make all of our harvesters are quick change, you can take them on and off real fast. Why not use that power supply? Save yourself some money, because you just don't need that big expenditure at this point in time at this maturity of the industry.
And that's
it doesn't support it.
And then that's part of what y'all do, right? I mean,
Mhm.
if there's someone who wants to makeshift existing equipment that they have, y'all kind of come in, evaluate what they've got, and then you just kind of customize certain parts
Mhm.
to add on to that equipment. Is that what you?
Yeah, we make implements basically. So if you have a tractor, we make an implement that you can put on the front, and then we, figure out the hydraulics that are needed to power it. We've got some controls now, the little touchscreen in the cab that can change speeds and heights and things like that, um, for people. So we try to use their power units, their tractors that they have, because it's just, you're going to harvest for 2 or 3 weeks. Why would you go spend $2 million on a dedicated harvester for a crop that's only yielding a few $100 an acre at this point in time? It might be more if you're lucky, but it just, to me, when I pencil that out, that doesn't work.
Yeah, I think
That's why we chose this path. Okay.
I love that path. I was just gonna compliment and say, I mean, it's such a new industry, and to your point, farmers that are not experienced in growing hemp and that want to make that pivot, it's a great option for them to utilize. I think instead of spending all that money, $500,000 to over $1 million on this equipment, where it
Yep.
could possibly fail the first year or something.
Sure could. I mean, grain, like corn right now, I think the last I looked, corn was trading for $3.305 a bushel. So, that's 530, $540 an acre gross revenue on corn. Well, you can do a little better than that with hemp if you farm it correctly. You can make a few thousand, but you got to farm it right. Keep your input costs low. Find a home for it. Work with some good reputable people that are going to write you a check and it'll clear. That's happened a lot in this industry as of late, or they just disappear and you can't find them anymore. So really vet your people. I mean, if you're going to work with an extractor, go see it, because you see, we get a lot of people call and say, hey, I heard this guy's got 10 of your machines and he wants us to custom harvest it, and he wants X% down, and does he actually have them? And I didn't. We saw that multiple times last year and the year before. People will snag pictures off of our website, and what they're doing is trying to book work ahead of time, and they hope to get enough money to buy the machine at the last second and put it in the field and harvest and make the other half. That happened multiple times, or it's very unfortunate. Be very careful on who you're dealing with at this point in time. And if you got any questions, just give us a call, because we know a lot of these people and can connect you with really good, viable people.
Yep. To add
We
on to
hate
that,
seeing that.
no, yeah, I believe you. I mean, it's unfortunate that people are getting taken advantage of that way. Speaking along those lines, I know that genetics have come up quite a bit during our conversation today. Um, how would you recommend, farmers go about finding the right genetics when they're starting out?
You can look on, some of these states have approved genetics lists, like Texas. There's only so many. Colorado doesn't have that kind of list, but there are some certified seeds that you can find. There's not too many for CBD yet, but find somebody that's been in the industry. We're still several generations away from having very stable genetics. It takes 8 or 9 generations to get a seed that's stable and homogeneous, and we're just not there yet. We're 5 years away, 7 years away, depending. And really look where they're growing it too, because the pollen can travel so far. We've seen fields here in our area of Colorado. Almost every field that was around us got pollinated last year. So we've actually had to make machinery and have very good success separating the seed from flower if it gets pollinated. People really panic when their crop gets pollinated. At least in this area, we're not seeing dramatic losses of cannabinoid content after pollination, especially because you're harvesting so early to keep your THC low. The seeds haven't completely formed yet, and if they have, we're still not seeing that huge degradation everybody panics about. Like, I can show you a picture of one of those separators here on that PowerPoint, just to show you, because it happens. You're gonna get pollinated at some point in time.
Mhm.
Share screen, where'd that go? So if you do get pollinated, Here it comes. We put machines like this together. The flower that has seeds would go up this elevator, drops into this hopper. Then the seed gets actually sized and cleaned out of this machine. This is an air separator. And then we put these large vacuum systems on here. The flower actually comes up and gets collected in drums or super sacks down here. And then the seeds drop out at the bottom here. So we can effectively separate this. This is an enclosed system, so you don't lose much. Well, you don't lose anything because this thing's completely self-contained and enclosed. So we link these together electronically so they run in a pair, and then we can very, very effectively separate that. And then if you've got little pieces of stalk in the crop, what I'm showing you here is a screen cleaner. On the right-hand side, this would be the flower that's ready to go to extraction or take seeds out. These are little 1/4 and 1/2 inch pieces of stem that we're taking out because that just slows down the extractor. The more efficient your extraction partner is, the better they're going to like your crop. So this machine, you run your product through it and get those little pieces of stalk out of there. When this is done, here's flower down at the bottom that's ready to be either have the seed taken out or go to extraction if there's no seeds. This is some of the smaller pieces, and here's a little bit larger pieces of stalk. So that machine separates into 3 components.
Wow.
So we've got those kind of techniques to help extraction, pre-extraction. So we can go from cultivation, we've got precision in-row and inter-row cultivators, meaning we can actually go between the plants and cultivate, or we can just cultivate down the rows. I can show you a video of that playing if you want to see it just for fun, because this is pretty slick. Wait, where's the screen sharing thing? Share that again. So this is going in between the plants. You see that rotary section? It's going between the plants to knock out the weeds. When you're farming hemp, it's a race between the weed and the hemp, and the hemp has to win or you're going to be not happy. So this is what they call a robotic weeder. We can set these things up.
So here's a question for you on this one. What we're looking at here is a piece of equipment that's removing the weeds, but it looks like the hemp plants have just been starting to sprout from the ground, right? So
when you're weeding, this is very early in the season, because once the crop canopies, the weeds will stop. They're suppressed.
Right.
So
and that's what
an
we learned.
elimination of labor. This machine runs 2-3 miles an hour with one operator in the seat, and you just drive. You don't need 50-60 people out there weeding, especially if you're in an area where you're paying $15 to $20 an hour for hand labor.
So is this also a solution for the plants once they've matured a bit more before they canopy?
Yeah, you can go through again a little bit. This machine works off of a camera system, so it recognizes you have to precision plant, right? So your rows have to be GPSed in, and your plant spacing has to be known. So you're going to have to precision plant with an air seeder or however you're going to do it. And then you tell this machine that I'm on X row spacing, and let's just say this is 12 inches. So the computer's looking every 12 inches for a plant that's shaped like this. This happens to be, I think, cauliflower. This is not running in hemp. And then it tells this motor to go in between those plants and make a pass in there and knock those weeds down.
That's amazing.
Okay, and I've seen these run with next to drip tape. I mean, it won't work over plastic, but I'm not a big plastic fan because, man, is it hard to get out of a field. So this is just a technique to help reduce labor and reduce your cost. Yes, it's a capital expenditure, but this machine's going to run for many, many years, where labor is a continuous input cost.
Right.
Then this is actually in an organic corn or grain. Oh man, mute that. So this is some sort of an organic, like this is baby leaf. This machine will get within 2 millimeters of a stalk and not tear it up. See how close it is?
The difference for this one is it's actually digging through the rows as opposed to like having a mechanism that's spinning around the plant, chopping the weeds.
This is called an in-row. So you're just working the furrows in the top of the beds. These are onions. So you look how close that is to that. This is organic grain, so we can set these up for grain or any organic system where you don't have pesticides and herbicides. So it's just showing, these are 6 or 7 inch rows and he's cultivating in there. So just different techniques to help, reduce pesticides, reduce labors, having pestis, this is the camera looking to guide that thing. But it's just a way to cultivate without a lot of labor.
How long does it take to develop machines like this?
Oh, I built the first clean cut 3 years ago, and the guy waited forever to order it, and we pieced it together in 6-7 weeks. Ideally, you'd like to have a season or two to put these together and test them, but at the rate that the industry is going, we do our best design work with what we know at the moment, and put them out and see what happens, because we just don't have those research cycles to do this. That's why I try to get into South America, so I can get a couple of research cycles a year and help speed up the product development. Hemp's only been grown on scale for 5-6 years total, so we've innovated all of this stuff really in the last 4 years. I built the first clean cut 4 seasons ago now. Sorry, I said 3. It was actually 4. So we're on version 3-4 of the clean cut. The clean strip, this will be we put the prototype I started playing with 2 harvests ago. Last year we had many of them in the field, and now we'll have even more in the field. So we just keep innovating as we go. It's unfortunate. You can't have the perfect product to put out in the market right now. It just doesn't exist. We don't know where the genetics are going, the farming practices, all those things. It's really difficult to engineer when it's not a known. Corn, when you go drive by a cornfield, all the plants are the same height. All of the ears are at the same size, and they're at the same height on the plant. And you can make a machine really effectively to harvest that crop, because everybody plants something that's pretty similar, right? We've got thousands of different genetic selections to go to. So like this year, for instance, we ran into hemp plants that grew like a globe. They were complete and total sphere, completely round. Usually when you cut a hemp plant that's bushy, when they hit the conveyor belt, they'll collapse some. These things were really heavily branched, and they stayed a complete circle. So we had to quickly figure out, we put some little fingers on the belt that could clear and would go around on that belt and would reach in there and grab those stalks and then take it and up the elevator to get it into the truck. So we'd never seen a genetic like that.
So it's learning as you go too, right? When you see these new genetics, you're like, okay, well, we have to now problem solve for this type of this plant that's shaped differently now, or something like that. Yeah.
A good farmer. I mean, I've seen guys buy brand new tractors and take a torch to them and get them set up how they want to run them. I mean, $500,000 machine, and they're starting to cut on them before they ever go in the field. You just see that. A really good farmer is probably one of the best innovators you ever run into.
Oh, I believe
so
that.
They buy the platform because it's a function of time. We spend months and months engineering these things, trying to get them as best we can, and try to contemplate as many scenarios as possible. And then we take them out to the field, and the guy says, yeah, my crop's going to look like this. And we get out there, and they said it was 6 feet tall and it was 18 inches tall. So, okay, now what do we do? I've got video of an autoflower that was supposed to be 5 feet high on December 23rd, and it was 18 inches, didn't even come up to my knee. So we had to, we set the machine up, and by gosh, it harvested it.
It goes back to that. It goes back to that point. Know your genetics. Know what you're putting in the ground, right? I mean,
yeah.
or yeah.
You try.
Yeah.
We've seen people think autoflower is, goes 65 days. It goes to from vegetated to flowering, and it's perfect. I was in many fields over this winter that were planted and they flowered immediately because the day length is short. It's still phototrophic. I haven't seen one yet that's perfectly auto flower that just goes for X number of days and then flower. It's still day length dependent. So I've seen plants that are 6, 7, 8 inches tall and they flower because that's what they're supposed to do. So that's going to come as well, but just be aware of that. When somebody says it's an auto flower and it's going to work perfectly, just beware because it didn't happen. I've seen guys renting lights like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, no. Well, is there any new equipment that you're developing currently that maybe you can give us a sneak peek on? Or
that super clean cut, that's the first year of that machine that we ran that in the field last year, and it did a really nice job. I don't think I had any pictures of of the plant that was stripped after the super clean cut on here that I can get. No, I don't. Nothing quick. Then we're developing some other new harvester. Probably we should have it in the field this year, but it'll be a small test platform. We'll just see. But I'm furthering the idea of the grasshopper and using that as a collection device. That vacuum system is a collection device. Those actually work really well, depending on how you farm the crop. It's meant for 24-inch rows or narrower, and genetics that grow vertical and have the calyx or the calyx up on top, or colas up on the top of the plant. Again, just like that corn analogy, all the ears are at the same height, all the plants are at the same height. As we keep getting the genetics bred for homogeny, the mechanical harvesting is going to get easier and easier, because things are going to be more standardized, and we'll have a target to hit, instead of just kind of saying, well, who knows what genetics they've got. Here's the best thing we've got today, which is what we have to do. It's unfortunate, but that's what we have to do.
Yeah, we know that industrial farming is huge, right, in terms of the scale, and the operations that most of these commercial farmers are doing. But do you see any potential in the future for industrial hemp farming to give the smaller farmers a crack at it?
Absolutely. The super clean cut, that's the other thing we're developing, that we will have in a 1-row format. So we can run it on a 30 to 40 horsepower tractor. That 5-row machine I showed you take a 250 to 300 horse tractor, just because it weighs so much. We use those big tractors not for horsepower, we use them for ballast, so that we can balance the system out, front and rear. But we will have a 1-row harvester, which is the smallest we've ever done so far. Normally our smallest machine is an 8.5-foot wide cut width. Had kind of stayed away from that, but we're building those with Bish Enterprises. And we'll have a 1-row. Like the super clean cut, we build those in partnership with Shelburne Reynolds. I had them set those up and build them specific for us. But the super clean cut and the clean cut, we build from scratch here. Those grain cleaning machinery, that I get those from GCS, and I set those up for him. So I'm the distributor for almost the whole country for most of that stuff. So
you mentioned y'all have been working in this space, developing this equipment and really evolving over the last 5 years, right? So it's still so fairly new. We're just kind of scratching the surface with the industrial hemp industry overall. So what is your view of the future for this industry?
I think it's going to be around. I mean, some people think this might have been a fad, but it is more farms and people educate the masses, the consumer, that's going to help the industry more and more and more. I'm really excited for the fiber part of this industry to take off, the grain side of it to take off, specifically like animal feed, because that's going to help a ton in getting volume into these farms, and that'll open up even for a small farm. Once you can feed it to animals, that'll really help. Really good fiber crops will also lend itself to some smaller farms, because it's a little more specific. But it should become a really nice rotation crop for a lot of these farms, whether it's in California or back east. That's what I keep telling people. This is a great rotation crop. So the more we can educate people and get more consumers using it, the better it's going to drive this extra crop into the farms and help our farmers. We need these family farms around. We can't let them perish.
Right.
And it's getting ugly right now.
And I know that Colorado's soil and climate is perfect for hemp cultivation, right? And I've heard similar for New York. What have you heard about New York's climate?
Oh, you get into Western New York, that's good farming ground there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been in New York in past lives, and that's some nice ground up there. And I think it'll work quite well. There's quite a bit more humidity there from a fiber perspective. That humidity makes it a little more difficult to work with. So they're going to have to pay more attention to drying and storage of the crop and keeping it dry. So that's something to be aware of. And the further west you come, where it gets less humid, it's a little easier. But there's good soil back in the east. So they'll be able to farm it successfully too. Just find a home for it before you plant it.
That's right. Do your research, do your due diligence,
do your
right?
research and understand your risk tolerance. You know, if you've got X dollars in disposable income, that's as much as you want to play in this game. You only plant what you can afford to turn under. If you can't afford to plow it under, it's not a good idea to put it in the ground. You really got to understand your risk tolerance, because this is a new industry. There's just not those normal streams of consumption yet. It's a great crop for an entrepreneur that wants to help create and drive demand for the product. Those are the kind of farms that have gotten this thing going. But if you're not looking to be an entrepreneur and help brand your product and sell it at retail level, you know, you might want to make sure you're partnering with a very good extraction or retailing partner, because it's not going to move if you don't have a home for it. So you need to be very, very aware of that before it goes into the ground. All right,
Well,
can't say that enough.
it's well said. And it's great advice. Corbett, I think that we're coming up to time here.
Okay.
I really appreciate you coming on the show. And is there any, Formation Ag website URLs or Facebook, social media stuff that you want to throw out there before we end?
Sure. You know, our website is formation-ag.com, and the easiest email is sales@formation-ag.com. You email that and somebody will send out our product offering. I think we've got almost 20 pages of machinery now that's set up for hemp. Like grain cleaning stuff, you can clean anything from, you know, grass seeds to sunflower seeds and everything in between. But most of the machinery is specific to hemp. So sales@formationag.com. Their phone number is 719-849-6633. So when you fancy up the podcast, if you put that on there for people, that'll sure help. And we don't mind just talking to people. We want people to be successful. So a little education, a few conversations here and there to help them keep them safe is always worth it. We don't want farms to get a bad taste in their mouth. We really want farmers to succeed.
Yep.
We need, everybody in the country needs these farmers successful.
Yep. Totally agree. I mean, the potential that the hemp industry presents is incredible, you know, not only from a farming standpoint, but just a booming economic standpoint, right? Jobs, revenue. I mean, it's going to be a really, really fun to watch as it all unfolds.
Yep. We have a good time doing this.
Yes. Well, hey, we're all about education as well. And that's what this whole platform is about. So, Corbett, thank you so much. We'll be sure to include all of the website information in the description within our YouTube channel. And hey, man, keep innovating. You guys are doing great things when it comes to hemp machinery.
You bet. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.